Kansas high schoolers today, when surveyed what Kansas history means to them, responded with items like the border disputes leading to the Civil War, homesteaders, and the Brown versus Board of Education case. Notice that Kansas's role in the coal industry was nowhere on the radar. Textbooks fail to recognize the importance of Kansas's role, particularly that of Crawford and Cherokee counties in the southeast portion of the state, in the American coal industry and the national labor movements of the early 20th century. From 1919 to 1921, the number of immigrants entering the United States grew 600%. Many European immigrants found their way to the hustling coal fields of southeast Kansas. The region became known as the Little Balkans, an area steeped in coal culture. As labor strikes swept the nation from 1919 through 1921, the mothers, wives, and daughters of District 14 assessed the situation and their role in the matter carefully. Observing little progress and fierce opposition, on December 11, 1921, they sprang into action. Over the next 3 days, more than 2,000 women marched on area mines. Publications such as the New York Times depicted the women as members of a radical army led by militant immigrants. My goal is to counter this depiction, instead presenting evidence that supports the Women's March of 1921 not as a radical movement, but as the implication of social, political, and economic pressures facing the labor industry. The social climate post-World War I was one filled with xenophobia. Immigrants were seen as a menace to the population, and our government began to limit European immigration into the United States with the quota system. In the spirit of the Red Scare, immigrants were stereotyped by the media and government as communists and radicals. Efforts for labor reform were thwarted, claiming unionization and protest as un-American. On the political scene, United Mine Workers of America's District 14, encompassing Cherokee and Crawford counties, was led by Alexander Howitt, who had openly defied UMWA President John Lewis and Kansas Governor Henry Allen by ignoring the state's Court of Relations and Lewis's encouragement to end strikes in the district. Howitt was seen by residents in District 14 as a source of solidarity. His imprisonment in 1919 and continued efforts to encourage strikes in the region played heavily on the events that transpired in December 1921. Kansas Governor Henry J. Allen looked upon strikes in the Kansas coalfields as a threat to the state's economy and the well-being of Kansas's citizens. His actions before and after the march further alienated the residents of District 14. Before the march, the Kansas Court of Industrial Relations, created by Allen, worked to control prices, manage labor disputes, and bring in replacement workers as workers went on strike. After the women marched upon the mines, he called in the National Guard troops to put down the march. My research into the events surrounding the Women's March of 1921 began with a presentation by Kansas historian Linda O'Neillio-Knoll. The presentation clearly illuminated the social elements leading to and following the march. To gain further understanding, I looked to U.S. labor and coal historiographies. My findings illuminated the role of coal in our nation's power structure. Brody's compilation of essays provides a greater understanding of the origin of the American labor movement in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Fries's history takes us from the beginnings of time to modern America, explaining how coal came to dominate the industry. Pittsburgh State University's Leonard H. Axe Library is a treasure trove of sources documenting the social, political, and economic environment of the region throughout the 1920s and beyond. The Special Collections Division boasts both online and tangible artifacts surrounding the march. I browsed through the Crawford County court ledgers from 1921. Part of their collection is the Judge Curran papers, and I looked there to find useful info, as well as in the Joe Skubitz collection, including his mother, a Marcher's journals. The Miners Hall Museum stands on the very site that over 500 women met on December 11, 1921, calling into action the mothers, wives, and children of miners in District 14. The hall in Franklin is home to documents such as oral histories, maps, and images related to coal camps in Crawford and Cherokee counties. Names of miners, coal companies, and related artifacts are on display there as well. The Kansas Memory Project works in conjunction with the state's Historical Foundation to provide an online collection of documents. With a quick search using key concepts, names, and dates, I can add important documents to my virtual backpack. My findings here relate mostly to the political environment preceding the march. The Kansas Court of Industrial Relations documents can be found here, outlining the court's purpose, in addition to many letters to and from Governor Allen related to the time period and the institution of the court.